It was Sunday, April 7th, 2:42 p.m. I still remember because I checked my phone right before I got out of the car. A blue Honda CR-V parked across the street. I'd even vacuumed the trunk to make sure the gift box stayed clean. Silver wrapping paper navy ribbon receipt still inside, $84.50 from Target. I carried it with both hands, one arm under one palm, holding the side. That's the part that still hurts, how carefully I held it. I barely reached the front step when Valeria opened the door and blinked fast, like she hadn't expected me to actually come. "Oh, Mom?" she said, stepping out and pulling the door mostly shut behind her. "This one's more for like our young circle, you know. We're trying to keep the vibe light and fun." There it was. No thank you. No maybe later. Just shut out. I didn't argue. I just stood there. Behind her, I could see about 15 women in cream and beige dresses, all in their 20s and 30s. One looked up, saw me nudge the girl next to her. I felt heat crawl up my chest. So I did what I could. I crouched slowly and placed the gift down, right next to the doormat. I adjusted the ribbon once, not sure why. Then I straightened up, nodded at Valeria, and walked off. A block away, my friend Maggie was parked waiting for a hair appointment nearby. I slid into her passenger seat without saying much. After a few beats, she said, "They really told you to go." I nodded. "Damn," she muttered. "I'd have thrown the damn box through the window." I half laughed, half froze. I wanted to explain. But what would I say? That I didn't want to cause a scene because I was scared they'd cut me off completely. That I was embarrassed. That I loved that baby more than anything and didn't want to be the problem grandma. I pulled out my phone and opened my banking app. Last Thursday transfer of $950 to Camilla. For the party? No thanks, no mention. Just disappeared like I had. If they didn't want me at the party, why did my money still make it through the door? Maggie turned to me. "You okay?" I looked at her, then back down at the gift still sitting in my notifications. "Not yet," I said, "but I'm thinking." And that night, something else landed on my phone. The receipt was still in my coat pocket. I found it the next morning while tossing my keys onto the table. April 8th. Monday, 7:12 a.m. I hadn't even had coffee yet. Just stood there in my kitchen coat, half off, staring at the paper like it might blink first. $84.50, Target, baby deluxe set, silver wrap, gift receipt included. I had wrapped it myself, on the kitchen table, Friday night. Took me nearly half an hour to tie that ribbon because my fingers don't work like they used to. But I kept thinking, make it nice. She'll notice. She noticed. Just not the way I hoped. I sat down at the table, still in my coat, still holding that receipt. I didn't cry. Not right away. Just breathed through my nose like I used to when Camilla would throw tantrums as a toddler. I'd count to 10 back then. Didn't help now either. My neighbor Rosa texted around 8. "Saw you leave the party. Everything okay?" I replied. "Fine." She didn't buy it. She came over by 9, holding 2 bagels and a look. "Did she tell you not to come in?" Rosa asked, handing me the sesame one. I nodded. She shook her head. I'd sue for emotional damages if I thought she'd get it. I wanted to defend Valeria. I almost did. But I stopped myself. What exactly was I defending? If this is what family looks like, me standing outside while they laugh inside, then I've got a question. If I'm so loved, why is it always conditional on me staying silent? I glanced down at the receipt again and felt a sting of shame. Not for buying the gift, but for convincing myself for months that they still saw me as part of the picture. The signs were there. Missing invites, half updates, last-minute texts, and still I showed up with a ribbon and a smile. I sipped lukewarm coffee still in my coat and opened the banking app again. The $950 transfer sat there like a bruise. No one had returned it. No one had even said thanks. But around 10:13 a.m., something else came in. A video. Airdropped by mistake. From inside that party. It was 10:13 a.m., April 8th. I was finishing the second half of the cold bagel Rosa brought when my phone lit up. Camilla wants to share a video via airdrop. Camilla. My 13-year-old granddaughter. I pressed accept without thinking. Thought maybe it was a clip of the cake or a dance or something innocent. But the second it loaded, I knew. The camera was shaky, laughter loud. It was a 19-second clip taken right after I left. First voice, probably one of Valeria's friends. She just stood there. I thought she'd cry. Then another girl snorting. That gift, Val says they're returning it. Might sell it and get something cuter. Laughter. Someone clapped. I sat back like I'd been slapped. Quiet. No tears. Just that heavy sinking, like your chest folds in on itself. I hit save, labeled the file April8clip.move, and didn't respond. Not to Camilla. Not to anyone. You know what's funny? Everyone talks about how family makes mistakes, but you forgive. Okay. But why do I have to forgive first, quietly and always, while they treat me like a punchline behind closed doors? I didn't send the video to anyone. Not yet. I just opened my notes app and typed a sentence, "When respect leaves, love becomes convenient." Then I deleted it. Too dramatic. Didn't need that right now. At noon, my cousin Lydia called. She works part-time at the Walgreens near their house. I guess she'd heard something from a coworker who was also at the party. I told her nothing. Just that I left early. "You're nicer than me," she said. "I would have aired that video at Christmas dinner." I didn't laugh. I didn't even agree. I just asked one question, Lydia. "Do you think they even want me around, or just the wiring info silence?" She sighed. "That baby doesn't know yet. But one day he will." After we hung up, I sat in my kitchen and watched the video again twice. Once for the words, the second time for the voices. And somewhere deep in my chest, something settled. Not anger, not revenge, just clarity. I opened my drawer and pulled out the red folder. April 9th, 6:41 a.m. My laptop was already open from the night before. I hadn't slept well. I made coffee, black, no sugar, and sat down with the same quiet I'd had since watching that video. I plugged my phone in, opened AirDrop, forwarded the clip to my Gmail, and saved a second copy to a USB I keep taped under my drawer, old habit from when my late husband and I handled his paperwork ourselves. I didn't rename the file, didn't trim it. No subtitles, no notes, just 19 seconds of their real voices, real intentions. I clicked forward and sent it to Mark, my lawyer. I typed just one line in the email. "Please hold. No action yet." Mark called back within the hour. His voice was calm, like always. "You okay?" "Not sure," I said, "but I'm not panicking." He paused, then added, "Good. Just store it. Don't show anyone. It only has power if they think you don't have it." After the call, I just sat there. Hands shaking a bit, not from fear. From some kind of energy I couldn't name, like something had shifted. I looked over at the calendar on the fridge. April 9th. Camilla's dance recital was this Friday. I'd bought tickets 2 weeks ago. $22 each. Row C. She had begged me to come. I kept staring at the tickets, then at the USB, then back again. I don't want to be the kind of person who uses proof to destroy family. But I'm also not going to sit here and pretend they didn't humiliate me on purpose. If I'm just old people, why am I the one buying recital tickets and setting up trust funds? Rosa texted again around noon. "You calm or planning something?" I replied, "Neither. Just thinking." She texted back, "Dangerous." She wasn't wrong. I felt clearer, but not proud. Not yet. A small part of me still hoped this wasn't what it looked like. That maybe they were just thoughtless. Immature. Not cruel. But when you're not invited in, not called after, and your money still flows like clockwork at some point, you have to ask, what are they really keeping me around for? I opened my banking app next. Would you like me to continue with Chapter 5? I opened the bottom drawer of the cabinet I keep by the dining table. That drawer holds every important paper I've ever touched. Birth certificates, bank printouts, old tax returns, and the envelope labeled Condo, 2021. The air inside smelled faintly of glue and peppermint. I pulled the file out and laid it flat. No music, no drama. Just the sound of my old pen clicking as I started scanning. Page 3. Section B. Co-investor Maria L. Bennett. Not just cosigner co-investor. I had never noticed the phrasing before. But what made me pause was line 7. All parties with co-investor status retain equal authority to withdraw or dissolve the shared interest upon written request. I underlined it 3 times, then sat back and exhaled. That condo, the one they said was just in my name for mortgage reasons. Apparently, I had more say than they remembered. I called Linda, my cousin, who works at a notary office in Tallahassee. She picked up after the second ring. You sound like you just found gold. Not gold, I said. Just leverage. She laughed. Even better. I could have laughed too, but my throat tightened. The memory of that baby shower still stung. I whispered, "Do you remember last Christmas they said I could stay in the guest room next time if I promised not to make Camilla sad again?" Linda didn't speak for a second. Then damn. They really said that I nodded even though she couldn't see. Like I'm a threat. Like my face ruins the mood. I'd let too much slide. That time they accidentally sent me the invite link late. The birthday gift they handed back saying it was a bit old-fashioned. I kept making excuses, telling myself I'd misread the tone. But now, with my name on the paperwork and their words on video, I started seeing it for what it was. They didn't want me erased. They wanted me invisible, but available. If they care so much about appearances, why hide the truth behind legal tricks? I circled the clause again. I wasn't planning revenge. I just wanted to know where I stood. Then I made a copy of the entire file, just in case. I set the table for 4. Nothing fancy, just my usual Sunday lunch. Rotisserie chicken from Publix, a bowl of green beans and the store-bought lemon pie they liked. I even put out the paper napkins with little sunflowers on them. It was April 14th, around 1:10 p.m. when they rang the bell. Camilla came in first, phone in hand, not looking up. My daughter followed, distracted but polite. And then Mrs. Jensen from next door, she'd helped me with groceries last week, came in last. I'd asked her that morning if she'd join us. "Just say you stopped by with your peach jam," I told her. They all sat. Camilla grabbed the seat near the window. I poured tea. The kind she liked, extra sweet, no lemon. At first, the conversation was harmless. School updates. My daughter vented about gas prices again, $3.89 and still climbing. She muttered, shaking her head. Then it shifted. Camilla picked up a wing, rolled her eyes, and said, "I mean, Grandma's not going to show up to stuff anymore, right? It's not like she likes parties." She laughed. My daughter didn't correct her. Mrs. Jensen caught my eye. Her brow lifted just slightly. I nodded once. Small, measured, then passed the beans. People slip when they think you've already lost. They assume you're out of moves, so they talk freely. That's why I didn't argue. I just listened. After lunch, I walked Mrs. Jensen to the porch. She looked down at her shoes, then at me. "They talk like you're not in the room. Because they think I won't speak," I said. She put her jar of jam in her bag and added, "Well, you just did." I stood there a while after she left. Thought about how I used to send money through Zelle every holiday, no questions asked. I remembered the iPad I bought Camilla for school, $590 before tax. I didn't even get a thank you. Just a text asking for the password. If this is how family treats you, is it really betrayal to set a line? I closed the door, cleared the table, and folded the napkins for next time. I emailed the file that night to Jordan, my old neighbor's son, who now works in tech support over in Tampa. Smart kid. I helped him prep for his SATs back in the day. He replied the next morning, January 22nd, 9th, 13 a.m. Definitely Camilla's voice. You can also hear the date ping video was recorded Saturday, 3rd, 42 p.m. on her iPhone 13. I sat on the couch phone in my hand, coffee half cold on the table. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just read the email again, then looked out the window. The sun was too bright that day. It made the dust on the glass impossible to ignore. I didn't send the video to anyone else. Didn't threaten. Didn't hint. Instead, I walked down to the CVS on Broad Street, picked up a white envelope, $3.29, for the kind with the little string clasp. I took my time writing on it. All caps, black pen, full transfer notice. Later that afternoon, I told Lisa, my coworker from the library. She leaned back, took one look at my face, and said, "So, we're past the benefit of the doubt face?" I nodded. They recorded themselves mocking me. Then they sent it by accident but never apologized. Just silence. She shook her head. "That's not an accident. That's carelessness wrapped in confidence." I winced, nodded her words at myself, because she was right. Deep down, I knew something had shifted months ago. When Camilla stopped saying thank you. When my daughter hesitated before inviting me places. I kept brushing it off. Thought I was imagining it. Maybe I didn't want to believe it because what would that say about how I raised her? But now everything was recorded. Literally. And here's a question that won't leave me alone. If this was just a misunderstanding, why did no one reach out after I left the shower? Not a text. Not even a "did you get home safe?" I placed the envelope in my filing cabinet right above my condo papers. Brunch was at their place. Sunday the 28th, 11:30 a.m. sharp. They'd just bought that beige sectional from IKEA, still smelled like glue. Camilla wore that pale blue blouse she always saves for company. My daughter kept checking the oven like she was hosting the queen. And I walked in holding one white envelope. No one stood to greet me. No hug from my granddaughter. Just a half wave and a seat that didn't have a placemat. I sat anyway. Smiled once. Placed the envelope right in front of my daughter. About the condo, I said calm. "This is yours now." Silence. Camilla blinked, then reached for it. My daughter's fork froze midair. I added, along with responsibility, the taxes. The monthly HOA, $486.32. Utilities, maintenance calls, plumbing issues, all of it. Jordan, Camilla's husband, laughed like I'd just made a cute joke. "Wait, what?" I looked him straight in the face. "You said you wanted independence, right? Ownership means bills." "Enjoy." Camilla finally spoke. "But you always said the place was for us, and I always paid the fees." Quietly. I leaned in. Let me ask, if I were so welcomed, why was I blocked from a party for my own grandson? She flushed. My daughter opened her mouth, closed it again. "That's when Lisa, yes?" I brought her, stood up from the corner. "I'll just step out," she said lightly, but loud enough. Didn't realize this was a one-sided brunch. The room went stiff. I don't enjoy confrontation. Truth is, I was shaking the whole time. I could feel sweat under my collar, but I didn't backpedal, didn't soften it with a smile. Later that night, I sat on my couch, shoes still on, coat still zipped. I hated that part of me had hoped. Maybe one of them would say, "We're sorry." No one did. And still I felt clearer than I had in months. Because when they opened that envelope, they didn't say thank you. They said, "How do we even afford this?" Next Sunday, I'd find out just how deep their panic really ran. At 6:18 a.m., my phone started buzzing on the nightstand. I didn't even open my eyes. First Camila, then Valeria, back to back. Missed calls stack up fast when people realize the math doesn't work without you. I didn't answer. I rolled onto my side, stared at the wall, and listened to the vibration die out. When I finally got up, I moved slow on purpose. Kitchen light on, coffee grounds measured, water poured. The old mug, the one with the chipped rim they once laughed at, came off the shelf. I used it anyway. Steam rose. My hands shook a little, then settled. The first text came through while the coffee brewed. Can we talk? Then another. This is family. Don't do this. I left them unread. Here's what kept circling in my head while the machine hissed, if they can afford the condo now, why did they need me to keep paying before? And if this is family, why did the conversation start with pressure and end with silence until the bill showed up? I poured the coffee and sat at the table. The mug warmed my palms. I opened the closet and pulled down the small suitcase. Nothing dramatic, just the practical stuff: paperwork folder, spare, glasses, a sweater. I folded like I always do. Neat, edges aligned. The quiet felt different, thicker, not peaceful, focused. Rosa knocked around 8 with a bag of oranges. You okay? She asked, scanning the suitcase by the door. I'm fine, I said. I'm leaving room. She nodded. Once. They're calling you because they ran out of options. I hated how true that sounded. I also hated the small ache that followed the part of me that still wanted my granddaughter to call for a hug, not a bailout. I stood there a second longer than necessary, embarrassed at myself for hoping that maybe this time would be different. I'd ignored signs for years because ignoring was easier than losing access. Another call. I let it ring. Then a text from Valeria, please. Just explain. Explain what? That I won't bankroll disrespect. That I'm done translating love into monthly payments. I zipped the suitcase and set it by the door. No speeches, no threats, just movement. The funny thing about silence is it's louder than begging, and once it starts working, it keeps working. So I picked up my keys and stepped out, already thinking about the one place I needed to stop before anything else moved forward. I got back to my place around 11:45 a.m., February 4th. The sun was out, but everything felt gray. I put the suitcase down and walked straight to the hall closet. There, behind a folded blanket, was the small cardboard box with a faded label in my handwriting. For the baby, one day. I sat on the floor and opened it. Inside, the photo of me holding Valeria the day she was born, still creased at the corner. A letter I'd written when she turned 5, never sent. And the store receipt for the baby shower gift, dated January 12th, $84.50 at Carter's, still crisp. I don't know why I kept it. Maybe to remind myself I tried. Maybe because I knew one day someone might try to rewrite it all. I closed the box and slipped it into the fireproof safe under my bed, not to use against them, just to remember what was real before the noise. Before the manipulation, before my silence became something they mistook for weakness. When people say, but we're family, I want to ask, then why did your first instinct involve public shame? Why didn't you call when you weren't asking for something? Marcia, my neighbor, knocked 10 minutes later. You okay? She asked. When I opened the door a crack. I'm good, I said. She held out a cup holder. You weren't at Sunday service. I brought your coffee. Hazelnut, no sugar. Like always. I took it and almost said thank you twice. She didn't push, just nodded and left. As I sat back down, I stared at the closed door. Quiet. No one knocking, no one demanding. Just the hum of the fridge, the warmth of the coffee in my hands, and that strange ache you feel when you finally choose peace over pretending. I felt something twist in my chest, shame probably, for staying quiet too long, for thinking silence could keep me close to my granddaughter, for ignoring the warning signs because I didn't want to be the difficult one. But I wasn't angry now, just done. The kind of done where you still care, but you stop chasing. I took a slow sip and looked toward the hallway, already thinking of one more thing I had to do before this chapter really stayed closed.